If you want to create a group in Office 365, what is called an Office 365 group that has all those collaborative features, the ability to have the shared calendar, the shared OneDrive, the shared OneNote notebook, and things like that, you need to go into the portal and you can actually create it right from the group environment. So I'm going to click on Groups and go right back into my Groups environment. I'm going to click on the Add a Group button here. When I add that group, it actually defaults to the Office 365 group, and I'm going to give it a name here. And let's just call this Demo 365 there, right? Now the group ID is going to be the same as the group name unless it's being used by something else, in which case you'd have to go out there and create a different ID. Now that group ID is also going to be where we're going to be sending emails to the group, right? So if somebody wants to send something to that group, that's the number, that's the email address that they'd actually use. We go and we can put in a description for the group and what we want it to be. We have the ability to decide what level of privacy this group is going to be at. Is it going to be public, where anyone has the ability to browse the group? Only members could contribute to it, but maybe it's a group about the office planning committee, and you want everybody to kind of get some insight into what things are going on in the committee, but not have the ability to interact with it. I could make it public and they could see all the content, or I could choose to make it private. And if I make it private, only members can see the content in the group. Now the one nice feature that we have here is if I choose to make it public right now, I can go back later and change it to private or vice versa. So I'm not making a decision that I have to stick with. I can actually come back in and modify that down the road. So for now, let's go ahead and make that a private group there. Right? We can have it in English. Notice we're going to send copies of group conversation and events to group members' inboxes so that they see it. So they don't always have to come into the group to actually look at that. We have the ability to do that. I'm going to decide who's going to be the owner of this group. In this case, we're going to go ahead and let Ethan be the owner of the group there. And I'll add the group. So it's creating the group. Now this is going to take a little bit longer than normal in terms of creating a group because it's establishing that OneNote notebook. It's establishing the OneDrive environment. It's creating that shared calendar and that shared email box for us, right? It's not just creating a group that we're going to use for routing or security. So we have to give it a second to do that. The group's ready to use. Now we can add members to this, right? We have the ability to go out there. We'll close that group and go into our Demo 365. And now I have the ability, notice, and this happens occasionally. See how I've got invalid data source operation? With the collaborative groups, with these Office 365 groups, as I said, they do take a little bit longer to build sometimes. And although it says, oh, the group's ready to be used, it's actually not ready. We need to give it a couple more minutes and let it actually build the group. Let's take, sometimes it's just simply going out of it and backing in. There we go. Now it's ready. So I was just a little bit faster than it was in order to get ready. So don't worry about it. If that shows up, just close it, give it a minute, come back in. You should be okay. I'm just going to go ahead and add some members in here. Now, as the owner, I'm also a member, but I can also add other people to this group. So they'll have the ability to access that shared calendar in the environment. So I can create and manage these groups right in the portal, right? And I have the ability to do that. Now, one of the other things that you have to be aware of is while these groups have the ability to be created from the administrative portal, and we can manage them and delete them and monitor them, users also have the ability, if I go in here and click on Mail, unless it's been disabled, and you do have the ability to disable this feature, unless it's been disabled, a user can actually go out there and also create their own group. So they have the ability, if they wanted to, right here in Groups, and I'm just in my Mail, for example, they can click on the New button and do the exact same thing I just did, right? Whereas they can go out there and they can create a group. Let's just, right, give it a name, right, to set the privacy level of that group out there, and then send copies to the user. So they have the ability to go do the exact same thing. They get this option from their email, they get this option from their OneDrive. If you don't want them to do that, you can disable it, but be aware that users can create those groups as well. But even if a user creates the group, I still will see it in the admin portal, and I'll have the ability to decide if I want to delete that group, if I want to administer that group in some way. I still have that access.